So this is Pekka Lundmark, who became president and CEO of Nokia in 2020. And he recently appeared in one of WEF's Blue Rooms there, where he told an audience member that he believes by the rollout of 6G, which they apparently plan to be doing around 2030, the smartphones people are walking around with in their hands right now will be obsolete. And these devices will instead be built directly into people's bodies. And before I make the actual point that I came on here to make, can I just say, I really wish that all of these people would stop acting like this is just the next logical step for this technology. What other technology is that the next logical step ever? It's not like they came out with a microwave oven and then the next logical step was put it directly in your mouth so it could cook the food while you eat it. Or, wow, bicycles are really great. Get places really fast. Next logical step, can I attach that to my ass? Just right to me all the time. All the time. I want the bicycle to be part of my ass so that I don't have to ever be separate from it. I want it to just be right up in there. This is not the next logical step is put it in your body. I feel like that's silly. The way that they talk about this, like we're all just supposed to know that and accept that and think that that's normal to do. It's if you really just step outside of it for a second as if you were, an alien from outer space or something. And one of the comic books that passes as a History Channel show these days.
We became human.
And you saw that, you would be thinking, that's a really bad move. Maybe you should take a step back and tone down the hubris a few thousand notches and maybe consider that there's some ramifications there that you might not seem to get.
Many of these things will be built directly into our bodies.
That dude's face after he answers that. Wow to that. But look at this lady following it up real quick.
And one of the important statements I think, made at our most recent developers conference is that we believe that one of the big advantages of augmented reality is actually solving problems here on Earth. And it will be things like having glasses and being able to translate as you speak with glasses. And those are very close.
Holograms will be.
She's like, dude, you're not supposed to go straight to telling them they're putting it in the brain. We got to put it on their face first. They have to wear it on their body and get used to that first. You're skipping a whole step here in the plan. What the hell?
Holograms will be very, very high quality in the era of 6G. I've already seen 5G-based hologram demonstrations. They already work, but then with the next generation technology, we could be having this meeting so that in reality we would be sitting in different parts of the world.
And then he's just like, no, we're just going straight to holograms. It's going to be like Star Wars, and you're going to put things in the brain.
All right, well, I've enjoyed seeing you for the last time I'll ever see you in person. I look forward to seeing you at the next Davos. Thank you very much to our amazing panel.
And I know everybody knows my opinion on this. I've made it pretty clear. And if other people think this is super cool and they just cannot wait to do this, that's really everyone else's body, their choice. I am your body, your choice. I actually do believe in that. If those people want to make that decision for themselves, I am not in any position to tell them not to. But I feel like I at least have to bring up a point about this because I don't think these transhumanists have really thought through, okay, what happens when they become obsolete? Because they're sitting around talking about how we're all going to become obsolete, the people like me who don't want to put a smartphone into my brain. But the reason I don't want to put a smartphone into my body is the same reason I don't want to do a lot of things giant corporations tell me to do. I don't trust them. And to trust them with something that's to that level, we've already been told over and over about these phones, how they're tracking us, how they're tracing on us, how they're spying on us, how we're being manipulated by the algorithms and technology that these phones employ with increasing efficiency. But somehow, at some level, we're supposed to just put all that to the side, just sweep that on over to the side there, step over that giant mountain of bullshit, essentially, and then give up all autonomy altogether and say, no, I think this will go well. You sit down at your computer, you have Windows on your PC, and it doesn't go well. You know that you can't keep your old version of Windows. You have to just keep upgrading, and then there's all the glitches and the blue screens of death. Hey, let's put that whole mess inside the body, right? Why would anybody have a pretty strange imagination. I think probably most people would say that I can go many, many places within the realms of my mind. One place I have a very hard time getting to is how are people actually going to put a 6G emitting smartphone in their brain, and society is going to just continue to function with that. It's barely functioning now with people having these things in their hands. But that's not even really the bigger thing, I think, is that we're going to continue to pretend like non-ionizing radiation doesn't exist, or if it does, it's not anything we need to talk about, think about, learn about, be concerned with. We're going to continue to pretend like our entire body isn't run on electrical signals, though. That doesn't make sense to me. So we're going to have a 6G device in the body or in the brain or whatever it is. And that's just going to be fine, because our entire body is not made up of atoms that have electrical fields, and every single process in our bodies is not run on electrical signals. We're going to continue to pretend like that's not the case, even though it's basic knowledge that we have known for many, 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 many decades. I don't understand that. I cannot wrap my mind around that unless we're just going to pretend like that's not the case. And I don't know how everyone's going to be able to do that. I just can't see this actually working out. I don't think the body itself was meant for that. And I don't think our society is ready for anything even remotely close to that. All of the things, they're just too many. I could go on all day. But they just keep prodding us with this. And it's been going on for years now, that they just keep talking about how they're going to implant mobile phones in our heads. You know, when the phone meets the body, and how your phone's going to read your mind, and when communications technology is going to be implanted in everybody.
Many people now have smartphones and watches for things like communications, daily planning, or even monitoring their health. This quickly growing technology has also brought up the question of how long before we have smart devices implanted within our bodies. We're still quite a ways away from this being an off-the-shelf option for shoppers, but scientists have been exploring this topic for a myriad of different applications.
And they just try to make it sound so cool. With no downsides. There's no downsides here. It's just going to be so awesome when that's happening. Even Elon Musk in his Neuralink presentation was making jokes about updates to brain implants.
It's basically Bluetooth to your phone. Because we'll have to watch the App Store updates for that one. Make sure we don't have a driver issue. Updating.
And hopefully admitting to the people who came to watch the presentation that it would be very unethical to put ads in your brain.
There's no advertising.
I mean, Jesus. I mean, you'd have really no escape. We cannot do that. That would be an ethical barrier.
You can't live at all unless you can live fully now. And because now is never satisfactory, because we're never really living in it, we get more and more avid to go ahead and pursue the future. We develop our technology to a fantastic ability where we can more and more fulfill our desires for the future almost immediately, working towards a sort of push-button world. But have you ever stopped to think what the world would be like if you could fulfill every wish the moment you wished it? Suppose, for example, on going to bed at night, you could always dream whatever you wanted to dream. What would happen after a while? Of course, I suppose at first, you would dream fantastic pleasures, wonderful adventures, fulfillment of all the things you ever wished. Then as time went on, don't you think you'd want to be, a little bit surprised, to have a little bit less control over what was happening to you? And after you'd experimented with this for some months or years, you might even want dreams in which you suffer, because there is no real delight, no real fulfillment without delay. Doesn't every child know on a hot day when you think, I'm terribly thirsty and I'd like an ice cream soda? Haven't you tried the experiment of putting off drinking it, putting off, so that you get thirstier and thirstier, and it's so much fun when you finally get to it? And so in the same way, impatience with time, always wanting the future, is frustrating. Maya, which generally has the meaning of illusion, or rather, illusions brought about by the acceptance of certain conventions, of which perspective was an example. When we are not aware that certain things which we take for granted, like the separateness of things from each other, when we are not aware that this is a matter of convention, we are apt to be fooled. Now, I think one of the conventions by which we tend to be fooled more than almost any other is time. And for all human beings, time is a matter of extraordinary importance. And perhaps this is one of the principal ways in which we differ from animals. Because man has been called a time-binding animal. That is to say, a creature who is vividly aware of the fact that his life moves, as it were, along a line from the past through the present and into the future. Animals apparently live pretty much moment by moment. They don't appear to have very strong memories, but because man has a strong memory, he is able to bear the past in mind and, as it were, cast it forward into visions of the future based upon what has happened in the past. And therefore, although this facility gives man the most extraordinary ability to plan his life, to prepare for future eventualities, at the same time, there is a very heavy price which he pays for it, and especially if he takes this ability too seriously. In other words, if he doesn't realize that the true reality in which he lives is the present moment now. For example, the animal probably doesn't concern itself very much with problems of future disease, death, or starvation, and things of that kind. If an animal sees another dead animal lying around, I don't suppose he thinks to himself, well, one day that's going to happen to me. Rather, he just sees a dead animal, sniffs it, sees whether it's good to eat, and wanders away. But for human beings, it's entirely different. Because we actually spend most of our time and a great deal of our emotional energy living in time which is not here, living in an elsewhere which is not concretely real. So much so that although we may be quite comfortable and happy in our present circumstances, if there is not a guarantee, not a promise, of a good time coming tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, we are at once unhappy, even in the midst of pleasure and affluence. And so we develop a kind of chronic anxiety about time. We want to be sure more and more, because of our sensitivity to the feeling of time, we want to be sure more and more that our future is assured. And for this reason, the future becomes of more importance to most human beings than the present. And in this sense, we are hooked, taken in by a Maya, because it is of very little use to us to be able to control and plan the future unless we are capable at the same time of living totally in the present. And so, when in civilized societies we spend so much of our time living for the future, we become very much like those celebrated donkeys, you know, that have a carrot fastened on a stick that's tied to the neck, you know, behind here, and it comes over, and there's the carrot dangling in front of them. They pursue it, but can never reach it. And so in exactly the same way, it's that way with us. But when one can come to realize that the present is the only place in which you live, and that the past and the future are now no more than useful illusions. Still useful, but useful only if one can live in the present. Then, as I say, one can settle into full participation with the momentary reality of life as it goes along, just like music. Buddha, one of the wisest of the sons of Asia, his real name was Gautama, but he was called Buddha because Buddha means the awakened one, the man who woke up. Now, in what sense was he awake? He was awake in the sense that he was completely all here. After all, we say about a person who's nuts, he's not all here. He's not all there. But our whole culture, our whole civilization, insofar as it is involved with time and living only for a future, is nuts. It's not all here. We are not awake. We are not completely alive now. And consequently, we are so hungry and so greedy because everything seems tasteless. We are living for an abstraction which has not yet come to be, and we don't know what really is.